This is a collection of rare thoughts from Kapil Gupta. Look carefully into your history at the times in which you were wrong. Find the mistakes you made and see them as mistakes without turning them into anything more. Creativity must be fostered. The greatest education occurs on the pavement, not the blackboard. In searching for what he does not have, man sacrifices what he does have. In examining what he has, he looks in the direction of people and things, and in doing so fails to see who he is without them. Clarity versus doubt. If one is driven by the hope of reward and the pleasure of favorable outcomes, he will be stricken by self doubt. If he is at all times self honest about the purity of his motivations, his decisions and his actions will arise from clarity. All that excites a man loses its shine. All that pains him loses its grip. All things arise from insignificance, and to insignificance they return. The most intelligent of humans will spend his days exploring what lies beyond the limitations of his intelligence, where the ego of being intelligent is needed no more, and the ego of being egoless has been abandoned in search of a limitless frontier that few humans ever find. To be happy is a failure to understand that unhappiness is approaching. To force melancholy upon oneself is a failure to understand that excitement is approaching. To understand is to recognize that these are but moods of the mind. Man is drawn to the naming and categorizing of things, lofty discussions on consciousness, enlightenment, meditation, and egolessness. For within his heart of hearts, he realizes that the familiarity of intellectualization will shield him from the wild and nameless. Who is the fool who searches for a life extension? His is a life of quantity over quality. Who, but a fool, would look for ways to extend life rather than devote himself to curing the miseries of the life he has? Is it wiser to cure a life of anxiety or to prolong it? Before you set your sight on the highest hill in the kingdom, you must prepare for something that few others would dare to do. You must have the DNA for something that very few humans possess, being entirely and unmistakably alone. We humans have gotten parenting completely backwards. While a child is young and energetic, 100% of his time should be devoted to his pursuit, learning, training, creating, and earning, with minimal luxuries. When he is old and frail, he can have a smartphone and sit in a school. Perhaps the most effective advice for the things that matter most in humans' life is to completely eliminate from one's mind all that he has ever read, and to turn his back on every form of how to, way to improve, or prescription. Turning one's back on how to's and prescriptions is the first step in becoming serious. It's a clearing of the desk, not so that new answers can be entertained, but so that the problem can be removed from the rubble and brought into the light of day. The truth lies in the most unimaginable of places. The one who arrives at wisdom is the one who arrives at the conclusion that the problems of life were never meant to be fixed. It is for this reason that despite his lifelong efforts, disorder ruled the day. The search for a fix is a futile search because it is based upon a compulsion of the mind. The compulsion is for things to be a certain way, and fixing is the attempt to make them this way. The truth is, making things a certain way does not lead to satisfaction. The mind is clever. In reading these words, it will conclude that what he must do is to let go, as the spiritual community tells him. But this letting go is also an attempt to fix, for the only reason one is letting go is so that he can be free of the turmoil of trying to fix. Being free of turmoil is also wanting things to be a certain way. The truth is that all things that arrive by effort are fleeting. The things that last contain their own gravity and need no support from anyone or anything. Life becomes easy when it becomes natural, for nature never struggles, while man is never free of it. The only way to a life without problems, the only way to a life as natural as the rivers, the rains, and the hills, is to arrive at an experiential understanding. The understanding that one must arrive at is that his mind has created all the problems of his life, and the way it enslaves him is by sentencing him to a life of searching for answers to problems that do not, in reality, exist. One does not win because he is calm. He is calm because he knows he will win. The amount of wealth one accumulates, notoriety one gains, and life satisfaction one achieves is in direct proportion to the degree to which, number one, he is capable of divorcing himself from the prevailing dogmas of his industry, and number two, he is indifferent to what others think of him. The problem with society is that it has created too many options. There are fallback plans, interim plans, contingency plans, B and C plans. When the mind is faced with options, it wavers and hesitates. When there is only one option, it becomes laser focused. Human achievement is spawned by desire or hardship. Where there is insufficient desire, hardship must be created. A parent who makes his child's life easy does so not for the child, but for his own guilt. The parent who makes his child work because he himself had to work acts out of a hollow resentment. Both are negligent, for they act from a place of reactivity rather than truth. The parent who seeks the truth about his child's success will first scan his own thoughts, beliefs, and actions in search of the poison of conditioning. He will delineate the things that are true based upon his own evidence from the things he reflexively does out of conditioning. He will examine the limitations that were imposed upon him and now have become part of his psyche, and determine the degree to which he has reflexively imposed those limitations upon his child. He will ruthlessly divorce himself from the noxious fumes of societal influence so that he may see clearly and without influence, for in so doing he will come to discover that virtually all paths that he has placed his child upon are circles rather than straight lines. He will objectively examine the consequences of every action without guilt or blame. If he gives the child luxuries, what will be the consequence? If he makes him work a minimum wage job, what will be the consequence? If he sends him to university, what will be the consequence? If he seeks truth, nothing that he does will be influenced by the words should, or right, or wrong, or proper, or improper. Simply objective, unemotional, and unconditioned examinations of what produces what. If he is wise, the conclusion that he arrives at will be spoken of to no one, for he will have almost certainly been the only one in his entire nation to have pursued such a journey. As a result, he will be the only one who will have the clarity to understand it. A man of such a rare DNA must understand that society is his most dangerous influence. It is the bubonic plague, polio, and cholera combined in one potent dose. Society and its humans can only derail such a man. They can only make his mind question the validity of his outlandish conclusions. He must understand that having gone where few have ever gone, he must be his own support. He must live in a state of quarantine. Such a man will have the capability to set his child on the truth path to success, for he will have created the necessary atmosphere and conditions required for the child's mind to recruit the elements necessary to have his success materialize. This is his true path. Pure truth is that which is spoken without the impurities of one's history, one's temperament, and one's desires. It is stated directly, without the trace of emotion or the slightest attempt to convince. Trying to reach someone is a futile affair. The truth is spoken for itself. There are only two types of humans in this world: the serious and the unserious. The serious are ready to do anything. Thus, they truly arrive somewhere. The unserious make excuses, look for deals and discounts, and chase prescriptions and fads. Thus, they arrive nowhere. Thank you for listening. For more thoughts like this, please visit Twitter handle at Kapil Gupta MD. Thank you.